The emperor pastes scales on my body every day. The edges of the scales pierce my skin, and beads of blood seep out. He won't stop until I'm covered in scales. Then the emperor orders me to swim in the water. The scales on my body shimmer with a glistening light. Every day, decades passed in a flash. Unknowingly, we both grew old, our hair long turned white. The bed is warm. I lie side by side with the emperor, separated by only a shallow inch of distance. He holds my hand tightly, unwilling to let go. His fingertips gently trace the lines on the back of my hand over and over, as if touching those distant years. After a long while, Xiao Jingyuan finally spoke slowly, his tone tinged with melancholy and tenderness.
Do you still remember our first meeting?
My thoughts slowly drifted back to the year we first met. That year, the notice for the Crown Princess consort selection was posted on the city gate bulletin board. The crowd that came upon hearing the news was packed tightly. I squeezed into the outer edge of the crowd, stood on tiptoe, and strained to read the words on the notice. I'm Li Shuyuan's daughter, Vice Minister of Rights. I should have been a noble young lady from an official family. But my father was framed, stripped of his real power, left with only a nominal position. Our family's fortunes plummeted.
Your father has let you down, making you suffer along with me. You must seize this opportunity in the consort selection.
I nodded heavily. The bulletin board was crowded with noble ladies and their servants. I wore a plain dress, washed until it was faded. Standing in the crowd, I looked out of place. The crowd gradually dispersed, but I remained standing in front of the bulletin board, my heart filled with confusion and anxiety. Just then, a figure suddenly brushed up beside me. It was a little beggar in tattered clothes. He seemed about 15 or 16. His hair was a mess, and his face was covered in dust. But his eyes held a sharp alertness and steadiness. He ignored the notice, staring straight at me. His gaze held a hint of scrutiny.
Miss, are you here to compete for Crown Princess?
I was taken aback for a moment, then nodded. He smiled. He took out a rough sugar figurine from his pocket and handed it to me.
Here, have something sweet. It might make you feel better.
I hesitated, took it, and thanked him softly. I took a bite of the sugar figurine. The sweet taste spread on my tongue. A satisfied smile instantly lit my face. His gaze fell on my face. A faint smile touched his lips.
The consort's path is tough. You seem troubled, miss.
I looked at him, couldn't help asking how he knew.
I can tell just by looking at you. Your brows are furrowed. Clearly you're troubled. And your gaze has been fixed on that notice.
He paused, his gaze falling on my hand, tightly clutching the corner of my dress. He comforted me, saying those well-dressed noble ladies lack substance. They're just empty shells relying on their family's influence. What the Crown Prince truly wants is someone who can understand him and assist him. Finally, he told me not to cater to others in tomorrow's re-examination. Just show your own unique insights, and you'll naturally stand out. I was deeply moved by his words. His perspective was unique and profound. I looked at him, my heart filled with admiration and curiosity.
Trust me once. Do as I say tomorrow, and you'll definitely pass.
He turned to leave. I called out to stop him. Wait, may I ask your name? So I can repay you in the future. He turned back and looked at me deeply. His eyes were inscrutable.
No need to repay. We'll meet again if fate allows.
With that, he turned and melted into the crowd, and soon disappeared from sight. Holding my sugar figurine, I stood before the bulletin board. I was stunned for a while. His words echoed repeatedly in my mind. It all became clear. The next day's poetry gathering was at Cheonglan Garden outside the palace. The theme was spring scenery. Following the little beggar's advice, not catering to others. Instead, I linked it to people's hardships. My own thoughts. Sincere words, unique insights. Sure enough, my answer received unanimous praise from the examiners, and I passed the poetry gathering. The following rounds of assessments came one after another. But strangely enough, before each assessment, I would always run into that little beggar. He would always inadvertently reveal the key to the assessment during casual conversation. So accurate it amazed me. To thank him, I specially brought him steaming hot meat buns and candied fruit. His eyes lit up when he saw the food. He took out a little rabbit, woven from grass from his pocket. The craftsmanship wasn't exactly fine, but it was lifelike. I took the grass-woven rabbit, feeling sweet inside, and carefully tucked it into my pocket. I said softly, "Thank you. I owe it all to you every time." He grinned, picked up a meat bun, and took a big bite. Sunlight fell on his dusty face, making it look exceptionally bright. The consort selection grew stricter. By the final palace exam, only a few remained. It was held in the Hall of Golden Chimes. I stood in the hall, looking at the solemn and majestic scene before me. Nervous, sweaty palms. The palace exam question was unusually tricky. I pondered hard, but couldn't find a clue. Just when I was at a loss, I accidentally caught sight of a familiar figure standing among the ranks of officials. It was a young man wearing magnificent court robes, sharp eyebrows, bright eyes, extraordinarily handsome. Although he was dressed properly, I recognized him at a glance, that little beggar from the streets. I was so shocked I couldn't speak. While I was stunned, he quietly pointed to his own chest. It was a gesture only I understood, meaning follow your heart. I suddenly understood. I calmed myself, gathered my thoughts, and began to explain my views clearly and in detail. Results announced. I ranked high, holding my breath for the appointment, when a familiar figure stepped from the officials' ranks. He bowed to the emperor and empress.
Father, mother, your son disguised himself as a beggar to observe the consort selection, all to find a true-hearted person.
He walked straight up to me, his intense gaze fixed on me.
Qingyao, from the day I handed you the sugar figurine on the street, I knew it was you.
He grasped my hand tightly. He turned and announced to all.
Li Qingyao is the only true love of my life. I humbly request father and mother's approval to appoint her as crown princess.
The emperor and empress smiled at each other, and the emperor declared.
Granted.
He leaned down and chuckled at me, his eyes filled with starlight.
Congratulations, my crown princess.
At that moment, I felt like the happiest person in the world. Sunlight through the Hall of Golden Chimes windows, shining on Xiao Jingyuan and me, warm and dazzling. Life after marriage was sweet and warm. Xiao Jingyuan doted on me immensely. He'd watch sunrises and sunsets with me, and do my brows and hair. Take care of me day and night when I was sick. Once, recalling the sugar figurine he gave me at our first meeting, I couldn't help but laugh. Your Highness, when you were disguised as a beggar, could you make sugar figurines? Xiao Jingyuan was stunned. A smile spread across his face. He booped my nose, told me to wait. A few days later, he made a sugar figurine himself and gave it to me. Although it was a bit crooked, I thought it tasted just as sweet as before. Watching me eat happily, his eyes were full of adoration.
Yaoer, from now on, I'll make you a sugar figurine every year for a lifetime.
Not long after, the old emperor died. Xiao Jingyuan became emperor. Appointed empress, I moved into the Phoenix Palace. At the beginning of his reign, the court was unstable. Various factions were restless. Prime Minister Mei Song and officials petitioned, citing heirs and court balance, requesting the emperor to take many concubines. Xiao Jingyuan didn't hesitate for a moment. He declared before all, I alone would be his empress for life. Should the realm falter, it was his own incompetence as emperor. Nothing to do with the empress. He would never wrong me for the sake of so-called power balance. These resolute words greatly shocked all the court officials. Mei Song never expected the emperor to be so firm, speechless. For my sake, Xiao Jingyuan dismissed several stubborn old ministers who repeatedly offered advice. He stabilized the court with swift actions and silenced the gossip. News reached the Phoenix Palace. Embroidering by the window. Hearing the maid's report, my hand paused slightly. The needle pricked my fingertip. A drop of bright red blood welled up. After court, Xiao Jingyuan came to Phoenix Palace at once. Seeing the cut on my fingertip, he took my hand, heart aching, and gently blew on it.
How could you be so careless?
Your Majesty, for my sake, you've made enemies of the entire court.
Of course,
is it worth
for
it?
you, not just making enemies of the officials. Even if I had to give up everything, I'd be willing. I want everyone to know that my empress is you, and only you.
Tears filled my eyes then. I knew I hadn't loved the wrong person. From then on, the harem truly had only me. After court, Xiao Jingyuan came straight to Phoenix Palace for me. We reviewed memorials together, discussed state affairs. He would patiently listen to my opinions. Even if they were some immature ideas, he would take them seriously. Once, I suggested reducing taxes to let the people recuperate. After careful consideration, he adopted my suggestion. After the policy was implemented nationwide, people lived and worked in peace throughout the court and country. Everyone said they had never seen an emperor and empress so deeply in love. Our story was compiled into plays and spread through streets and alleys, becoming a tale of envy for all. In our third year married, I gave birth to a son for him. Xiao Jingyuan was overjoyed. He named our son Xiao Chengyu, meaning blessed by heaven, hoping he would have peace and smooth sailing. 2 years later, I gave birth to a daughter for him. We named her Xiao Lingxi, nicknamed Xier. With both a son and a daughter, Xiao Jingyuan doted on me even more. He would personally teach Chengyu to read and write, and carry Xier for walks in the imperial garden with her. Our days were peaceful and happy. Time flew, and decades passed in the blink of an eye. Chengyu had grown up, honest and kind, quite like Xiao Jingyuan in demeanor. He was appointed crown prince. Xier also married into a good family. Her husband was gentle, and doted on her immensely. Our grandchildren were born one after another. During festivals, the Phoenix Palace was always filled with laughter and joyous noise. My eyesight gradually blurred, and it became harder to see things. Xiao Jingyuan would set aside time every day to read plays to me. He always read the same few plays, my favorites from my youth, over and over again. I even remembered the missing corner on a certain page. While he was reading, I fell asleep. When I woke up, I found him still sitting by the bed, gently holding my hand, looking at me tenderly.
Your Majesty, why didn't you wake me?
You were sleeping so soundly, I couldn't bear to wake you. You still love listening to my stories, just like when you were young.
I leaned against his chest and said softly,
I love listening to anything Your Majesty reads.
His legs weren't as nimble as before, and he walked with a slight limp. I joined his daily walks in the imperial garden, supporting him as we walked slowly but steadily. I caught a cold, coughing incessantly, feeling weak all over. Xiao Jingyuan anxiously paced around. He stayed by my bedside day and night, personally feeding me medicine. More nervous than the imperial physician.
Yaoer, the medicine is a bit bitter. Please bear with it.
He scooped a spoonful of medicine on it, then carefully brought it to my lips. Frowning, I drank it. He quickly offered a candied fruit.
Quick, have a piece of candied fruit to ease the bitterness.
Under his meticulous care, I recovered quickly. On the night of his 80th birthday, a grand birthday banquet was held in the palace. After the banquet, he pulled me back to Phoenix Palace. We sat by the window, gazing at the bright moon.
Yaoer, thank you for accompanying me through so many storms and hardships. Thank you for always being by my side.
I watched him, with tears welling up in my eyes. He pulled me into his embrace. I leaned against his warm chest. A contented smile played on my lips as my eyes slowly closed. A similar smile graced Xiao Jingyuan's face in his sleep. My arms tightened unconsciously, but felt no solid form.
Yao.
Xiao Jingyuan jolted awake, drenched in cold sweat. He instinctively looked to his side. It was empty. Only cold silk remained.
Qingyao, where are you?
No one answered. An inexplicable panic seized him. Xiao Jingyuan staggered out of bed, barefoot on the cold tiles. He stumbled toward the outer hall, knocking over a celadon vase beside the screen, sending shards flying everywhere, blood seeping out. Eunuch Wang An rushed in at the sound and threw himself to the floor. Xiao Jingyuan grabbed him by the collar.
Where is the Empress? Where is my Empress?
Wang An, terrified by the madness in his eyes, trembled all over.
Your Majesty, what did you say? Li Qingyao, my Empress, she was just by my side. Where is she?
The old eunuch's lips trembled, her hair disheveled, robes askew. Tears streamed down as he stared at the frenzied emperor with bloodshot eyes. She kowtowed hard on the floor.
Your Majesty, have you forgotten? Empress Li. She passed away 50 years ago.
Xiao Jingyuan's hand suddenly went slack, and he staggered back 2 steps,
Yes,
choking.
50 years. Yawer has been gone for 50 years.
He murmured it again, then laughed softly, a hoarse, desolate sound. Time flows back to the first winter after Xiao Jingyuan ascended the throne, the dragon throne barely warmed by his already swirling beneath the court. I never saw those memorials with my own eyes, but the growing gloom in Xiao Jingyuan's brow silently spoke of the pressure's weight. He began to drift off when we were alone, his sighs while reviewing memorials growing heavier each time. Sometimes he'd wake at night, staring blankly at the canopy. He always came to me when exhausted, burying his face deep in the crook of my neck, like a child seeking shelter.
Yawer, I will not fail you. I promised you one man, one woman for a lifetime.
His voice was muffled, carrying a barely perceptible tremor. I patted his back gently, as if soothing a frightened foal. I've always believed in you. Yet, this trust seemed so pale and fragile against the increasingly tense court situation. The true storm first showed its signs when he returned from court one day. That day, he didn't go back to his bedchamber, but stayed alone in the imperial study late and found opening the door, I found him forehead in hand, lamplight shadowing his furrowed brow. I walked up behind him, fingertips to his temples. Instead of relaxing as he usually did, his body stiffened slightly. Bothered by the concubine issue again, he grabbed my wrist with his other hand, his grip so strong he turned around and pulled me tightly into his embrace.
They use the stability of the realm as leverage. That old fool, Meisong, actually dared to threaten me with death.
His voice was laced with anger, humiliation, and a hint of wavering. My heart suddenly sank. In the following days, rumors from the imperial court seeped through the cracks. The prime minister and senior clan members knelt, refusing to rise and invoking the state's welfare. They demanded the emperor take more consorts to produce heirs and balance the court. Earnest words, overwhelming momentum. They put on a show of loyalty, ready to die for their wisdom. Xiao Jingyuan visited my palace less frequently. Even when he came, he seemed preoccupied and hesitant. The intimate closeness where we could talk about anything was quietly replaced by an invisible barrier between us. It was a snowy night. Reeking of alcohol, he stumbled into Fangyi Palace. After sending all the palace staff away, he didn't come to me, but knelt straight down before me. Startled, I rose to help him up. Your Majesty, what are you doing? He didn't get up, but looked up at me. In the candlelight, his eyes were bloodshot, his cheeks flushed, yet his lips were pale and cracked. A scalding tear fell without warning, making my fingertips flinch from its heat.
Yawer, I'm sorry.
He clutched my sleeve so tightly his knuckles turned white, as if it were his only lifeline. He rambled incoherently, repeating words about forcing the prime minister, threatening to dash himself against the Jinluan Hall, the realm's weight,
I
the
don't know what to
ancestral legacy.
do. Yawer, I have failed you.
I looked at his tormented, twisted face, listening to the words that were pushing me into the abyss. I thought I was mentally prepared. I thought for the sake of his throne, I could yield. But when I'm sorry, truly came from his lips. When taking a concubine became the bloody reality standing between us, that tearing pain still instantly stole my breath away. After a long silence, I finally heard myself speak in a terrifyingly calm and unfamiliar tone. Slowly, little by little, I withdrew my hand from his tight grasp, as if emotion drained all the strength I had in this lifetime. I turned my back to him, straightened my spine, not letting a single tremor show. Tears streamed down silently, yet I bit my lip hard, not allowing a single sob to escape. Your Majesty is the son of heaven, and the empire must come first. I understand. Behind me, he seemed to want to say something, but in the end, there was only suppressed choking and repeated, that night, powerless the lanterns in Fengyi Palace burned until dawn. I leapt inside. He knelt outside, a curtain apart, yet worlds away. 3 days later, the imperial decree appointed Mei Ruoyan as noble consort, requiring her to enter the palace in 3 days. Those 3 days, the gray sky mirrored my mood. I sat by the window each day, holding the grass rabbit Xiao Jingyuan gave me when he left prison. The rabbit had long since faded, its edges worn, yet I had treasured it for many years. My fingertips traced the rough texture of the woven grass, as if I could still feel the warmth from back then. Palace maid Wanyu brings hot tea. I take it. The warmth touches my fingertips, but not the chill in my heart. Your Majesty, have some tea to warm yourself. Don't let the rain dampen your spirits. I nod and take a small sip of the hot tea. The warmth of the tea slides down my throat, offering only a moment's comfort. Mei Ruoyan, her palace entry procession stretched for miles, a grand spectacle. It was almost as lavish as my own coronation as Empress. She wore the splendid attire of a noble consort, as if victory was already assured. Her first act upon entering the palace was to pay her respects at Fengyi Palace. She bowed properly, her respectful tone laced with probing. May the Empress's health be robust, a blessing for the entire inner court. As a newcomer, I shall trouble your Majesty for guidance in the days to come. No need for formality, noble consort. Just follow the palace rules and know your place. Mei Ruoyan smiles in reply. Yet her gaze sweeps across the furnishings of Fengyi Palace, filled with appraisal and resentment. After Mei Ruoyan left, Wanyu complained about noble consort Mei's arrogance, upset for me. I shook my head helplessly, knowing she was the daughter of the prime minister and had every right to be arrogant. But from now on, I fear the harem will be anything but peaceful. On the wedding night, Xiao Jingyuan went to Yikun Palace as sat alone on the phoenix bed, the hall so quiet I could hear my own breathing as uncontrollable memories flooded my mind. The bright eyes of the little beggar when I left prison, his fiery oath in the golden Luan hall when he shed his disguise. Those cherished memories that kept me warm in the palace's cold nights. Now they seem so pale and ridiculous. Early the next morning, Xiao Jingyuan came to Fengyi Palace. He reeked of alcohol, his eyes evasive, not daring to meet mine. He wanted to say something, his lips moved, but no sound came out. I spoke first, my tone calm and steady. Your Majesty need not explain. The noble consort is new here. You should comfort her. But from now on, I ask that your Majesty remember. Fengyi Palace will always keep a light on for you. Xiao Jingyuan looked at me, his eyes filled with guilt.
Yaor, rest assured, you are the only one in my heart.
I didn't respond, just gazed out the window, my heart occupied only with myself. But in the end, his heart still went to another Mei Ruoyan's entry into the palace. It was like a huge rock thrown into a seemingly calm lake, at first only causing faint ripples. Gradually, it brewed into a storm powerful enough to devour everything. For the first few months, Xiao Jingyuan seemed to try maintaining a precarious balance. His visits to Fengyi Palace were less frequent than before, but he still showed up every few days. Only, the light in his eyes had dimmed considerably. That unique intimacy between us was replaced by a cautious guilt and deliberate distance. I knew Mei Ruoyan's illness had begun to flare up headaches, chest tightness, nightmares. The messenger eunuch always arrived in haste just as Xiao Jingyuan was about to enter Fengyi Palace, earnestly conveying the imperial consort's discomfort and longing. At first, Xiao Jingyuan would frown, look at me, his eyes filled with inquiry and struggle. Your Majesty, go quickly. Sister Mei's health matters most. My voice was calm and even, betraying no emotion. These words were like an imperial decree. The faint struggle in his eyes quickly died out. Each time he turned to leave, his steps grew faster, more resolute. After Mei Ruoyan entered the palace, Xiao Jingyuan frequently visited Yikun Palace with continuous rewards to balance court influence. Rare fabrics, jewels, and exquisite pastries were sent to Yikun Palace. The Mei family's influence rose rapidly with this momentum, soon stirring discontent among other court officials. To counter consort Mei, the Empress Dowager personally intervened, citing royal lineage and court stability. Repeatedly urged Xiao Jingyuan to select a few more distinguished young ladies for the palace. Xiao Jingyuan initially refused firmly, but couldn't withstand the Empress Dowager's daily nagging. Under pressure from court officials, he relented. The imperial selection decree was issued small in scale, but each of the carefully chosen newcomers came from illustrious families. Noble ladies with fathers and brothers in high court positions. Palace, Chusiu Palace, Changchun Palace, previously empty halls, from then gradually on, gained the harem was no longer just me versus consort Daily Mei. Greetings went from just us two sitting opposite to a crowd fawning over me. Yet their words were laced with hidden barbs. Sitting in the host seat, watching all this, I felt utterly exhausted. Xiangping steps forward holding a warm jade hairpin, a flattering smile on her face. Your Majesty, this jade hairpin is of exquisite clarity. I thought you would surely like it. Brought it specially for you. Not to be outdone, Consort Liang presents an exquisite Your Majesty, box. These are osmanthus cakes I made with my own hands. Please have a taste. I accept them all. Thank you, sisters, for your thoughtful gifts. Let us live in harmony within the palace hereafter. There's no need for such formality. They verbally assent to my teachings, but their eyes still conceal resentment and schemes. In this deep palace, the emperor's favor is everything. They exhaust all their efforts just to win a glance from Xiao Jingyuan. Xiao Jingyuan is becoming busier and busier, dealing with complex state the various factions in the harem, soothing the emotions of the consort. His visits to Fengyi Palace grow fewer. Sometimes, I don't see him for half a month. The day of my birthday was clear and crisp, perfect autumn weather. Fengyi Palace was decorated early as per tradition. The kitchen made some pastries I used to love. Even though we knew he likely wouldn't come, the servants still clung to a faint hope. They tidied the hall with extra care, and lit the Longxian incense he once favored. Crown Prince Xiao Chengyu, now a half-grown youth, came specially after his studies. He presented a neatly handwritten birthday message. Though childish, it was done with great care. Holding him close, I finally felt a touch of genuine warmth in my heart.
Mother Empress, will Father Emperor come tonight?
His eyes filled with pure expectation and trust. I patted his head and smiled. Father is busy with state affairs. Mother is happy whether he comes or not. With your character, my birthday this year is already perfect. Even so, as night fell and the palace lanterns lit up one by one, deep down I still hoped his figure would appear. I changed into a gentle colored dress and felt somewhat dazed while applying makeup before the mirror. It felt like those early years of marriage, that secret joy and anxiety whenever I waited for him. Time passed. Dinner was served, cleared, reheated, and grew cold. The eunuch sent to the front court returned, saying His Majesty was still meeting with ministers. I felt somewhat relieved. At least he wasn't staying elsewhere. Much later, the moon reached its peak, casting pale light over the quiet courtyard. Finally, footsteps sounded outside the palace gate. My heart gave a sudden leap, and I instinctively stood up. However, the person who arrived was not Xiao Jingyuan, but a eunuch with his head bowed.
Your Majesty, happy birthday. May you live 1,000 years. His Majesty sends a message. State affairs are particularly heavy today and remain unresolved. Consort Liang suddenly fell ill, and His Majesty has stayed to care for her. He fears he may not be able to attend your birthday celebration today. He specially bestows upon you a casket of South Sea pearls, 10 bolts of shoe brocade, and a pair of jade ruyi scepters. He hopes your Majesty will not take offense and wishes you to rest well.
As his words fell, a deathly silence filled the hall. Only the occasional sharp crackle of the candle flames pierced the quiet. His Majesty is most thoughtful. Please convey my gratitude for the gifts. He labors over state affairs. You must also care for the harem sisters and safeguard your health. All is well here. Please ask His Majesty not to worry.
The young eunuch, as if pardoned, promptly countered. Your Majesty is most considerate. I will deliver the message. I take my leave. They withdrew, and the hall doors closed heavily once again.
Xiao Chengyu had appeared beside me at some point, his little hand tightly clutching my cold fingers. Mother is fine. Look at all the gifts father sent. I signaled the maid to open the chest. The bright pearls gleamed coldly and opulently in the candlelight. Exquisite shoe brocade had intricate, vibrant patterns, and the jade were priceless treasures and smooth. But what use are these lifeless things? In the past, on my birthdays, he would clear his schedule early. He made me longevity noodles himself, not tasty at all, but I ate every bit. He'd sneak me out to see the capital's grandest lantern festival. In the crowded streets, he would hold my hand tightly. He would give me quirky little trinkets, filled with heartfelt meaning. Sometimes a rare seashell, sometimes a unique copy of a chess manual. With his flamboyant notes and playful comments. Those gifts weren't worth much money, yet they were brimming with the joy and affection that belonged solely to the two of us. All that remains are these perfunctory, meaningless rewards bestowed by the court. Put it away. The workers silently carried the boxes away. The shop returned to emptiness, yet felt even emptier and more bone-chillingly cold than before. That night, I sat alone again until late. There were no tears, just exhaustion. Those vivid memories that once sustained me through countless lonely nights seemed to have faded completely tonight, becoming blurred and distant, offering no warmth anymore. From that day on, I no longer looked forward to his visits. If he came, I would keep him company with some trivial talk. If he didn't, I would read or embroider alone. My days passed in quiet solitude. Our talks slowly turned to mere formalities.
Empress, you've worked hard.
Take care, Your Majesty. Our once close bond, where we shared everything, had long been eroded by time and harem strife. He stopped discussing court affairs or listening to my advice. He even forgot many of our shared memories. Once, I mentioned the sugar figurine he gave me upon my release, smiling as I asked if his memory was hazy. Those beautiful memories we once had. He seemed to stop caring altogether. At that moment, my heart sank completely. He had even forgotten our most precious memories. There's really no going back for us. The maids often gossip about His Majesty's favorite concubine. And I, the Empress, am nothing but a figurehead in name only. I hear it all, but I never argue. Yes, I am indeed just a figurehead that symbolizes his past vows, one that maintains order in the harem. I shut myself away, no longer caring where he went. Stop asking about him or seeing him. Watching flowers bloom and fade daily, I remember our first meeting. Only endless sighs remain. Back then, he was the dashing crown prince, the young man who would do anything for me. And I was the innocent, carefree maiden, Li Qingyao, whose heart and eyes were filled only with him. We've both changed, grown strange and distant. On a summer afternoon, the sun shone bright on the peonies blooming in the imperial garden. A riot of purple and red, bustling with life, as a breeze carried floral scents. It was a perfect time for scenery, but my chest felt tight, so I took Wan Yu to the imperial garden for a walk. As I walked, I heard a clear, crisp laughter from afar, a sound that felt very familiar. It was Xiao Jingyuan's voice, yet it carried a tone of doting and ease I had never heard before. I instinctively stopped in my tracks, a complex emotion stirring within me. Wan Yu noticed my hesitation and softly suggested we take another path. Let's look. We quietly circled behind the rockery and followed the sound. By the peony bushes not far away, Xiao Jingyuan held Mei Ruoyan intimately and naturally. Mei Ruoyan was placing a dew-kissed pink peony in her hair. She laughed coquettishly, her eyes and brows dancing. Xiao Jingyuan looked down at her, his eyes filled with adoration. He gently tapped Mei Ruoyan's nose. His tone was playful.
You're so mischievous.
Mei Ruoyan nestled in his arms and said in a sweet voice, as long as Your Majesty is pleased, so he could love, just not me anymore. His past claims of helplessness and powerlessness were just excuses for his betrayal. He could be tender and gentle with someone else, smile for someone else. He could give his affection unreservedly to another person. In front of me, he is filled with guilt and awkwardness, offering only routine greetings, followed by long silences with no topics to discuss, and hurried steps eager to leave. I didn't move, just quietly watched them, watching that piercing scene. Arm in arm, they vanished into the garden's depths. Only then did I slowly turn around and walk with unsteady steps towards back in the palace. I sat before the mirror, looking at my haggard reflection. The once bright and lively eyes now held only numbness and sorrow. The once rosy cheeks had also lost their former radiance. The person in the mirror was so unfamiliar I could hardly recognize myself. I had Wan Yu remove my phoenix crown and hairpins. Wan Yu paused for a moment, then quickly complied, taking off the heavy phoenix crown and letting down the jet black hair. I felt much lighter, yet also strangely empty. From today on, Li Qingyao, who was full of hope for the emperor's favor, is dead. I am just the empress, an empress in name only. I ordered all arrangements for Xiao Jingyuan in Fenji Palace removed, and no light kept for him. Stop cooking for him. Stop waiting foolishly. A few days later, Xiao Jingyuan suddenly came to Fenji Palace and saw the desolate scene. Gone were the bright lights of the past, and the specially prepared refreshments. He frowned. His tone was puzzled.
Yaoer, why remove all the lights?
Your Majesty, now with Consort Mei and the other sisters, I suppose the lights of Fenji Palace are no longer needed. Xiao Jingyuan was startled, not expecting me to say that. He hurriedly explained.
Yaoer, have you misunderstood something? Between Ruoyan and me, it's just a
performance for the occasion, or a passing whim? Your Majesty, no need to explain who you care for. From now on, let us each fulfill our duties and coexist peacefully. Xiao Jingyuan's expression shifted at my cold gaze. There was guilt, helplessness, and a trace of barely concealed anger. He opened his mouth to speak, but in the end, he only told me to rest well, then turned and left Fenji Palace. From that day on, he almost never came to Fenji Palace again. He'd only give brief instructions when here for palace affairs, then turn and leave, without even an extra glance. My heart is completely dead. Day after day, year after year, time wears on in this deep palace. I began to devote myself to Buddhist worship, chanting sutras daily, praying for inner peace. I no longer care about palace intrigues or who gains or loses favor. It's none of my concern. I only wish to find a sliver of tranquility in these lonely years. Sometimes, I recall my father's words back then. He told me to seize the opportunity of this election to revive our family. The family has indeed been preserved because of me. I myself have become a sacrifice to this deep palace. Was it worth it? I often ask myself this, yet I never find an answer. And now, there's no turning back. My heart died completely in that moment in the imperial garden. For the rest of my life, only endless loneliness and numbness remained. After my heart died, my body gradually weakened too. At first, it was just an occasional chill, a few coughs, a few doses of medicine would make it better. The illness grew worse, confining me to my sick bed. I kept taking medicine, but never got better. Imperial physicians came in waves, but after checking my pulse, they only prescribed ineffective remedies, vaguely saying my illness stems from inner melancholy, that medicine is hard to cure. Xiao Jingyuan visited me a few times. Each time, he would just sit in the chair by the bed, watching me silently. His gaze was complicated, filled with guilt and worry, but lacking the tenderness of the past. Faced with my lifeless eyes, he always seemed restless. After a short while, he would leave in a hurry, citing pressing state affairs. Your Majesty, Her Highness's condition is worsening. Please stay with her more.
I wish I could, but court matters are overwhelming. I simply cannot spare the time. Take good care of Her Highness. Report to me immediately if anything changes.
In the end, he still chose his empire, his court. Lying on the sickbed, I heard his words without a ripple in my heart. I no longer expect his company. Only occasionally do I recall his devoted care for me in our youth. Remembering those solemn vows, a faint bitterness stirs in my heart. In the 12th lunar month, the capital saw its first heavy snow of the winter, and also feather-like snowflakes swirled down ceaselessly, day and night, covering the entire forbidden city in a vast, deathly silent blanket of pure white. Long icicles hung from the eaves of Fenji Palace. The first snow of this winter fell heavily. Snowflakes danced, blanketing the imperial palace. Lying in bed, my voice was so weak it was almost inaudible. Wanyu hurried to the window and lifted the curtain, her voice choked with emotion. Your Highness, look, the snow is so heavy. The whole world has turned white. I turned my head and struggled to look out the window at the swirling snowflakes. Snowflakes fall on the branches, on the palace roof, pure and beautiful. Just like my love once was, pure and passionate, yet ultimately tainted by reality and buried by time. Wanyu, where do you think people go after they die? Wanyu's eyes redden, holding back tears. Your Highness, fate has its own plans. You will surely get better. Please don't overthink it. Once you recover, let's go enjoy the snow together. I smiled without a word. I know my own body all too well. Life is like a dying candle in the wind, ready to go out at any moment. My consciousness drifts at the edge of an abyss, between clarity and chaos. In moments of clarity, I can feel life slowly leaving this worn-out body, like sand slipping through my fingers. Impossible to hold onto or keep. In chaos, broken light flickers before my eyes. The sugar figurines from the streets of my youth, the red candles on my wedding night. His focused face while drawing my brows always ends frozen by the imperial garden rockery. That glaring golden chrysanthemum, and her carefree, radiant smile. My body grows colder, even under the thickest quilts, beside the warmest stove. That chill still seeps from deep within my bones, unstoppable. Breathing becomes terribly difficult. Each faint inhale is accompanied by a rasping sound deep in my chest, like a broken bellows, as if it might snap completely at any moment. Qinghe and a few close palace maids kept watch by the bedside day and night. Her eyes were red and swollen, yet she dared not shed tears in front of me. She only repeatedly wiped my sweat-drenched forehead and icy hands with a warm towel. Crown Prince Xiao Chengyu was stopped outside the palace. He was still too young to witness such a scene. I could only occasionally hear his suppressed, tearful calls. Mother. That night, the snow fell with exceptional ferocity. Fierce winds whipped the snowflakes, violently battering the window panes with a mournful howl. As if heaven and earth mourned for someone. The floor heating was on, charcoal crackling, yet it couldn't dispel in the slightest the boundless cold seeping from the depths of my soul. Huddled under the heavy quilts, I only felt cold, a desperate cold that threatened to freeze even my consciousness. My vision began to blur. The people and objects before me were veiled in a gray haze, their edges melting into the dim light. Yet my hearing seemed to become unusually sharp. I could hear the increasingly faint, increasingly sluggish heartbeat within my own chest. I could hear the storm raging outside. I could hear Qinghe's barely suppressed, fragmented sobs. Time became thick and slow, each moment stretched into an eternity. I knew the end was right before me. In my final moments, I often recalled the scene of our first meeting, that little beggar on the street. I remembered the rough sugar figurine he offered, and the vow he made to be together, just the two of us, for a lifetime. Those scenes flashed through my mind like a revolving lantern, so vivid it felt like yesterday. Bringing sweetness, yet also a bone-chilling pain. As the night deepened, my breathing grew fainter, and my consciousness blurred. The maids panicked and sent for Jing Yuan. In bed, I stubbornly kept my eyes open, using my last ounce of strength, as if waiting for the final outcome. I wanted to see him one last time, not to beg for his forgiveness, nor to voice my grievances. I just wanted to see if this man, whom I loved and resented all my life, would come to see me one last time before I died. Time passed minute by minute, and the snow fell heavier. The world outside the window was silent, save for the soft rustle of falling snow. Finally, the eunuch sent to deliver the message returned. He knelt before the bed, head bowed low, his voice trembling uncontrollably.
Your Highness, His Majesty. His Majesty just said Consort May's red plum blossoms invited her to admire the snow. He said for your Highness to rest well, and that he will visit you another day.
Another day. I sneered inwardly. I have no another day left. Hearing those words, the last thread of tension holding me finally snapped. I closed my eyes, a desolate smile touching my lips. So, in the end, he still chose Mei Ruoyan, the man who once promised me a lifetime. In my final moments, he is in another's tender embrace, laughing as he watches the wind and snow. This is for the best. Be it. With no more attachments, no more regrets, I can finally be free. The snow outside the window fell heavier, as if trying to bury all the filth and heartlessness within the palace. I felt my body growing lighter, like a feather drifting into the distance. I saw my younger self, that little beggar on the streets. I saw the sugar figurine from our first meeting, the starlight when we made our vows. So, the most beautiful times truly remained at the very beginning. I died, only 30 years old. When I died, not a single relative was by my side, only a few weeping palace maids. The candlelight in Fengi Palace flickered in the wind and snow, and finally went out. My fragrant soul, along with the swirling snow, dissipated within this palace that had imprisoned me my whole life. 22nd year of Jianyuan, heavy 17th snow. Day Empress of the 12th month. Passed away in Fengi Palace at the age of 30. My soul floated lightly above Fengi Palace, watching the bustling crowd below. The funeral bell of Fengi Palace tolled dully, one after another, piercing through the raging snowstorm, spreading throughout the entire palace, carrying endless sorrow. At that time, Xiao Jingyuan was embracing Mei Ruoyan, warming wine and admiring the snow. The warm chamber was cozy with a blazing fire, the table full of fine pastries and wine. Mei Ruoyan nestled in his arms, laughing and chatting softly as he poured wine for her. Your Majesty, the red plum blossoms against the white snow are absolutely breathtaking. I've never seen such a sight. Xiao Jingyuan smiled, sipped his wine, and looked at the red plum blossoms outside. Yet he felt inexplicably restless. He kept feeling an emptiness in his heart, as if something important was missing, making him restless and uneasy. A eunuch stumbled and scrambled into the warm chamber. His face was deathly pale, and his voice trembled with sobs, barely coherent.
Your Majesty, the Empress has passed away.
Xiao Jingyuan's wine cup fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. The wine splashed onto his dragon robe, but he didn't even notice. He roughly pushed Mei Ruoyan aside, his eyes fierce as he glared at the eunuch and shouted sternly.
She's just ill. How could she be dead?
The eunuch trembled in fear, kneeling on the ground and kowtowing repeatedly until his forehead soon bled.
Your Majesty, it's true. The maids from Fengi Palace came to report it themselves. The Empress has already stopped breathing.
Xiao Jingyuan's mind went blank, buzzing with noise. He couldn't believe it. Yaoer, always gentle and supportive of him. That Yaoer, to whom he once vowed to be together for a lifetime, that Yaoer, only her, whom he thought would always be there waiting for him. How could she suddenly be dead? Out of the warm chamber, disregarding the swirling snowstorm. Disregarding the ankle-deep snow, he ran like a madman towards Fengi Palace. He hadn't walked that road in a long time. The once familiar path now felt incredibly long. Snowflakes fell on his face, icy and biting, yet he felt no chill at all. Only one thought filled his mind: Yaoer cannot be dead. They must have made a mistake. They must have. When he rushed into Fengi Palace, all he saw was a sea of white. The palace maids were all dressed in mourning clothes, kneeling and weeping, their cries rising and falling, heart-wrenching. And his Yaoer lay quietly on the bed, her face as pale as paper, utterly lifeless. As if she were merely asleep, yet she would never wake again. Xiao Jingyuan, hoarsely calling my name. His voice was hoarse beyond recognition, staggering as he knelt by the bedside. His hand trembled as he reached to check my breath. That chilling emptiness was like a sharp blade. It instantly pierced his heart, leaving him in breathless agony. He shook his head, frantically rocking my body with a force that almost seemed to break me apart.
No, it can't be. Yaoer, wake up. I order you to wake up. Li Qingyao, do you hear me?
But no matter how he shook or called, the person on the bed gave no response. I just lay there quietly, indifferent to everything in the outside world. Xiao Jingyuan finally noticed I'm just skin and bones. My once bright and lovely face was now just a sickly, sallow yellow. My eye sockets were sunken, devoid of any color. My hands were clenched tightly, as if holding something in my palms. He carefully pried my hands open. He saw a withered, yellowed, and frayed grass-woven rabbit. He gave it to me when he was released. He'd nearly forgotten, but I've kept it all these years.
Yaoer.
Holding my cold body, he let out an inhuman wail. Tears poured down, soaking my clothes and that grass-woven rabbit. Remorse, pain, despair, all these emotions erupted at this moment, completely overwhelming him, leaving him almost breathless. He remembered our first meeting, when he was disguised as a beggar, and the warmth and kindness I showed handing him a steaming meat bun. He remembered the surprise and shyness in my eyes when he publicly confessed his feelings to me on TV. I recalled the gratitude and reliance in my eyes after he championed me against all opposition. He recalled my hurt and loneliness when he missed my birth due to consort Shu. He remembered playing and laughing with Mei Ruoyan in the Jade Garden. My resolute, sorrowful departure. He remembered my numb, lifeless eyes during my serious illness, on the few occasions he recalled my last moments. He was with Mei Ruoyan admiring snow, didn't even see me one last time. He had killed with his own hands the girl whose heart and eyes were once filled only with him. So, his so-called helplessness, his so-called imperial duty, just excuses for breaking his vows. So, what he lost was the person who loved him most in this world, the only light in his life. The old eunuch knelt nearby, watching the emperor's heartbroken state. He whispered words of consolation, but Xiao Jingyuan paid him no heed. He just held my body tightly, calling my name over and over again.
Yaoer, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please come back, alright? I'll never lie to you again. I don't want anything else, just you.
But no matter how he repented or pleaded, he could never get a response from me again. I left him forever, filled with disappointment and sorrow. He held me and sat by the cold phoenix bed all night. The snow stopped outside, and the sky brightened. The first ray of sunlight shone through the window into the hall, falling into his bloodshot eyes. But it brought no warmth, only endless cold and darkness. He knew his world would from then on be filled with endless regret, with no more light. After my funeral, Xiao Jingyuan ordered a thorough investigation into my death. When he learned from Wan Yu that before I died, I had sent someone to desperately beg him to see me one last time. He used accompanying Mei Ruoyan to enjoy the snow as an excuse, and didn't even leave a single word of farewell. He spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot and collapsed. After waking up, he became completely different. That heroic, majestic, calm, and composed emperor vanished without a trace. In his place was a violent, paranoid madman consumed by remorse and agony. He rushed to the Yi Kun Palace immediately. At that time, Mei Ruoyan was still admiring the red plum blossoms by the window, a smug smile on her face. She showed not a hint of sorrow over Li Qingyao's death. Seeing Xiao Jingyuan burst in, covered in sharp, murderous intent, his eyes fierce like a demon from hell, Mei Ruoyan quickly rose to pay respect.
You're to blame. If not for you, Yaoer wouldn't have died. If not for you, I wouldn't have missed seeing Yaoer one last time.
Terrified out of her wits by him, Mei Ruoyan's legs gave way. She knelt on the ground, her face
Your
deathly
Majesty,
pale. I'm innocent. The Empress's death has nothing to do with me. Xiao Jingyuan walked toward me step by step, his gaze icy and piercing.
Had you not vied for favor and bewitched me? How could Yaoer fall so ill from sorrow? If not for your praise of these red plum blossoms, I wouldn't have missed her last moments.
He grabbed Mei Ruoyan by the hair and dragged her to the window, forcing her to look at the blooming red plum tree.
You like these red plums? And gaze at them for life, forever, in the cold palace.
That day, Xiao Jingyuan decreed to strip Mei Ruoyan of her consort title and demote her to commoner. The cold palace for life. After dealing with Mei Ruoyan, she turned her attention to the other concubines in the harem. Xiao Jingyuan sat on the golden throne, his cold gaze fixed on the kneeling concubine. His tone was ice cold.
Empress, her death was caused by your petty jealousies and the chaos you brought to the harem. From this day forward, all concubines are to be dismissed and sent to the royal temple for a life of penance, never to return to the palace.
The officials were shocked and stepped forward to plead, saying the harem had committed no great offense. Such punishment risks resentment and court instability.
Wrong. Your greatest mistake was ever entering the palace, ever disturbing Yaoer and me. My word is law. Whoever dares to plead again will face my wrath.
The officials were terrified into silence by the madness and sharpness in his eyes. They could only watch him issue the decree. The vast harem was emptied overnight, leaving him alone. The once bustling, contentious palace became vast and desolate. Only the wind's mournful howl against the palace walls remained, as if lamenting endless sorrow. Xiao Jingyuan moved into the Fenji palace. He slept in my bed, covered himself with my quilts, and used the objects I had used. As if by doing so, he could preserve my scent and feel traces of my former presence. While reviewing memorials, he would often habitually turn to ask for my thoughts. Only endless silence answered him. This would jolt him awake, plunging him into deeper agony and despair. He would sit by the window, watching the flowers bloom and wither outside, for an entire day. His eyes are empty, as if he has lost his soul. Sometimes he talks to a tree, or smiles at a stone, as if that tree, that stone, were me.
Yaoer, look, these peonies are blooming beautifully, just like the ones you loved most back then. Yaoer, the Imperial Kitchen made your favorite osmanthus cakes today. I saved some for you. Try them, Yaoer. I was wrong. Please, come back to me. I won't be emperor anymore. I just want to be with you, even if it's a simple life with plain food.
The palace servants often see him wandering alone in the imperial garden, sometimes smiling, sometimes muttering to himself, sometimes screaming wildly, as if he's gone mad. He hung all my portraits in his bedchamber to when I became empress. Each one is lifelike. He spends all day tracing my eyes and brows from the portraits. As he paints, tears fall unconsciously, dampening the paper and soaking his robes. He started hallucinating. Sometimes, he sees me in a plain dress, smiling at him by the window. Gentle gaze, as always. Sometimes, he hears my voice, softly calling his name, so clearly it feels like I'm right beside him. Sometimes, he feels me sitting beside him, gently holding his hand, the warmth of my fingertips feeling real. At such moments, he would become exceptionally gentle, carefully cherishing this illusion, afraid that if he reached out, I would vanish. But an illusion is just an illusion. After waking from the dream, only endless emptiness and pain remain, swallowing him whole once more. Endure. But his world has long since completely collapsed, with no Li Qingyao. This vast empire, this supreme power, to him, is nothing but meaningless emptiness. Time flows on. 50 years have passed in the blink of an eye. Xiao Jingyuan is now 80 years old. His hair has long turned gray, his face deeply lined with wrinkles. His once upright posture has become hunched, his steps unsteady. Yet he still lives in Fenji Palace, guarding the person who no longer exists. Guarding memories and illusions. As he grows older, his memory begins to falter. The pain of reality intertwines with false illusions. His subconscious begins to weave a grand lie for him, a flawless dream. He begins to remember that back then, he did not yield to the officials, did not bring Mei Ruoyan into the palace. He overruled all opposition, held fast to his vow to me, the 6 palaces empty, with me as the only one. He remembers how he dismissed the stubborn, silent old minister under immense pressure, how he used decisive measures to stabilize the court and silence the endless gossip. He recalls how they weathered storms together, governing the realm side by side, watching their children grow into adults, welcoming the birth of their grandchildren together. He remembers heading straight to Fenji Palace after court to find me, where we reviewed memorials together. They discussed state affairs, shared emotions, and were not only spouses but also the most seamless comrades. He recalls their life, simple, yet happy. He'd read me stories, letting me sleep on. I would accompany him on walks, supporting him along every path in the imperial garden. He would secretly hide sweets the imperial physician forbade, acting like a child caught in the act when I caught a chill, he would stay by my bedside day and night, personally feeding me medicine, more anxious than the royal physician. We walked hand in hand into old age, just as we first vowed. This dream felt so real, the details so vivid. So real that he became completely immersed, even starting to believe these were true events. He often spoke to the air, as if I were right beside him, never having left.
Yaoer, look, our grandson is so big now. Yaoer, look how big our grandson has grown, just as honest and simple as Chenggu was in his childhood.
He pointed at the empty seat, a kind smile on his face. The servants, seeing him like this, sighed inwardly, but none dared to point out the truth. They knew that this dream was the only pillar keeping the old emperor alive. Once shattered, his life would come to an end. Once, when Crown Prince Xiao Qingyu came to visit, he saw him talking to an empty seat. Smiling at thin air, he couldn't help but tear up. He choked out.
Mother has been gone for 50 years.
Xiao Jingyuan sharply cut him off, his gaze fierce, filled with unquestionable stubbornness.
Your mother is right here. How can you speak such nonsense? Do you also wish to betray me?
Xiao Qingyu saw the pain and stubbornness in his father's clouded eyes. In the end, he swallowed the rest of his words. He knew his father had lived his entire life in regret and longing for his mother. This dream was his final solace. Xiao Jingyuan's dream grew clearer and more vivid. He even saw me with gray hair, saw me smiling at him, saw the wrinkles at the corners of my eyes. He heard me laughingly say his eyes were failing. That scene opened the story. The bed was warm. He and I lay side by side, with only a shallow inch between us. He held my hand tight, tracing the lines on my hand.
Yaoer, you're still young.
Your Majesty, your eyes are failing. No one but your Majesty would call an 80-year-old woman young.
Looking at my smile, his heart was filled with contentment and happiness. He feels it's wonderful to have me by his side for a lifetime. No regrets, no remorse. This 50-year-long dream is an anesthetic he prescribed for himself. He lives in this dream, sometimes as a blissful octogenarian, growing old with his beloved, enjoying the joys of family life, sometimes as a remorseful young emperor, tormented by his own betrayal, unable to forgive himself. He's torn between two worlds. Yet he never wants to wake up, nor dares to. He fears waking up, afraid to face the cruel reality that I have long been dead. Afraid to face the truth that he destroyed everything with his own hands. Afraid to lose the soul spiritual comfort. Until the day of his 80th birthday, the power of the dream reached its peak, and met its ultimate shattering. After the birthday banquet, he returned to Fenji Palace, lay on the bed, held my hand, and gradually fell asleep. We still looked as young as we once were, meeting on the streets of the capital. He disguised himself as a beggar, handed me a rough sugar figurine, and I showed a sweet smile, my eyes full of starlight. But at that very moment, the dream suddenly tore apart. He saw my figure gradually blur and become transparent, finally turning into a wisp of smoke, dissipating into the air, leaving no trace behind.
Yaoer.
He jolted awake, drenched in cold sweat, his heart pounding wildly. He instinctively reached out to touch the space beside him, but only felt the cold emptiness of the bedding. The bedchamber is empty, with no trace of me. The 50-year dream shattered completely at this moment. He must finally face this cruel reality. After waking from that terrifying dream, Xiao Jingyuan's health declined sharply. He was no longer mad, no longer murmuring to the air, no longer lost in the false dream. He just sat by the window every day, gazing toward Fenji Palace with hollow, sorrowful eyes. Like a soulless statue, he was finally completely awake, clearly remembering how I died. Clearly remembering the despair and grief I felt before my death. Clearly remembering that for 50 years, he had lived in a self-deceiving dream. This clarity is more cruel and fatal than any pain. It is like a blunt knife, making his life worse than death. Knowing his days were numbered, he began arranging his affairs and issued 2 decrees. First decree, posthumously name me Empress Xiaoqun Rende Yuan, enshrined in the imperial ancestral temple for eternal highest honor, glory, to make up for all the grievances and injustice I suffered in life, so that I may receive the respect I deserve after death. Second decree, his imperial mausoleum must leave the empress's place vacant. Just an uninscribed spell for me. He is unworthy of sharing a tomb with me. His sins are too heavy. They would defile my purity. And my life's merits and faults should not be written by that unfaithful man. The blank stelas, his final repentance and last respect for me. Upon learning of this, Crown Prince Xiao Qingyu knelt before him, weeping and pleading desperately.
Mother loved you deeply all her life. Surely she would have wished to be buried with you. Please revoke your decree.
Xiao Jingyuan shook his head. 2 clear tears streamed from his clouded eyes, his voice hoarse and weak.
Chengyu, I am not worthy. I have wronged your mother. I owe her far too much in this lifetime, perhaps more than I could ever repay, even in the next. This blank stele is the only thing I can do for her.
Seeing his resolute stance, Xiao Qingyu knew further pleas were futile and could only accept through tears. Before his end, Xiao Jingyuan dismissed everyone. He sat by the bed, clutching tightly a withered, heavily worn grass-woven rabbit. It was the first gift he ever gave me, and something I treasured my entire life. Gazing at the grass rabbit, my image appeared before his eyes. That innocent, radiant girl with a sweet smile. That kind and caring empress. That heartbroken, despairing woman who died in loneliness. The woman he loved all his life and failed all his life. His lips moved slightly, whispering with his last ounce of strength.
Yaor, I was wrong. I've come to make amends.
After saying that, his head slowly lowered, and the hand holding the grass-woven rabbit went limp. An emperor passed away in endless regret and loneliness. His funeral was grand and solemn, with all officials in attendance and the people in mourning. But no one knew what kind of profound love was hidden in this emperor's heart. What kind of deep, bone-chilling regret. Deep in the imperial mausoleum, two tombs face each other from afar. One is Xiao Jingyuan's tomb, its stele engraved with his achievements, praising his wisdom and valor. The other is my blank stele, a bare stone slab without any inscription. Standing quietly in the wind and rain and wordless. The palace walls stand, new faces replace past grudges and loves, past vows and pledges, have become legends occasionally mentioned by the old palace servants, fading into oblivion with the passage of time. Only that blank, wordless stele still stands deep within the imperial mausoleum, eroded by time. Silently telling the story of a profound love buried by the emperor's own hand. And that vow of one love for a lifetime ultimately became an illusion. A beautiful but empty dream. Upon waking, only endless regret and sorrow lingering in the wind.